On the left, 4 shirts a day. On the right, tens of thousands, same product, but the cost per shirt dramatically lower on the right. How is that possible? Today, we explain why. In economics, there is a concept that I personally find the most frustrating. Economies of scale. Why is it frustrating? The more I understand this concept, the more clearly it explains why I am poor. I'm alone. Large corporations have tens of thousands of people. Economics explains why this is not unfair in a very logical way. I didn't want to know this. Economies of scale. As the scale of production increases, the cost per unit decreases. Simply put, the more you produce, the cheaper each individual item becomes. Why this happens, and how this has changed the world. The foundation of this idea, the relationship between division of labor and the size of the market, was first explained by a classical economist, Adam Smith, 1776, The Wealth of Nations. And the example he used became one of the most famous in the history of economics, the pin factory.
The greatest improvement in the productive powers of labor seem to have been the effects of the division of labor.
Division of labor?
To make a single pin, you must draw the wire, straighten it, cut it, sharpen the point, and attach the head. If one man does all the work, he can barely make 20 pins a day. But if 10 men each perform 1 or 2 simple tasks, they can produce 48,000 pins a day.
Wait a second. If one person works alone, output stays low. But when tasks are divided, production increases dramatically. By simple calculation, productivity becomes much higher than when one person works alone. No matter how hard one person works, it is difficult to catch up with. Even one person in a divided system. That's why I said it feels unfair.
Division of labor is limited by the extent of the market.
So the larger the market, the more specialized the work can become, and the more special, the more efficient production gets.
Precisely. A pin factory in a small village does not receive enough orders to divide 18 distinct operations among 18 workers. But a factory serving an entire nation can. As the scale expands, division of labor becomes more refined. And as it becomes more refined, costs are reduced.
Let's translate this into modern terms. Why does cost per unit decrease as scale increases? I'll explain it in 3 parts. First, fixed cost distribution. Let's say it costs billions of dollars to build a semiconductor factory. If you produce 1 million chips, the fixed cost per unit is enormous. But if you produce 1 billion, the fixed cost per unit becomes almost close to 0. The construction cost of the factory is the same, but the number it's divided by is different. That's why semiconductor companies run their factories 24 hours a day. The moment they stop, fixed costs are wasted. Machines can sleep. Factory maintenance costs do not. Second, buying power.
When I go to a grocery store and buy a bag of coffee beans, and when a large coffee chain buys hundreds of tons of coffee beans, would the price per unit be the same? Absolutely not. When you buy in bulk, the unit price goes down. That chain buys coffee beans much cheaper than I do and sells coffee to me, and still makes a profit.
Third, specialization. This is exactly what Mr. Smith showed in the pin factory. When scale increases, one person can focus on one task. An engineer who has studied smartphone camera lenses for 20 years. A chemist who has researched battery materials for a lifetime. If you do one thing your entire life, you become the fastest in the world and the deepest in that field. I have to do different things every day, so I'm not the fastest at anything. That's the third reason. A small online store must pack and ship each order, one by one. But a large logistics network processes massive volumes through a system. So even for the same delivery, the larger the logistics network, the lower the cost per order. In this warehouse, millions of deliveries are processed every day. I once thought about starting an online store, then I saw this and decided not to. Economies of scale are not just about large companies having an advantage. This is a structural story. Once production reaches a certain scale, average costs fall across a range of output, giving the firm a competitive advantage. And this works in favor of growth. Revenue grows faster. That is why large companies keep getting bigger. Think about an airplane. A flight from New York to London, whether there is 1 passenger or 300. A large portion of the cost of the flight does not change significantly based on the number of passengers. So the more passengers there are, the lower the cost per person. That's why airlines try to fill every seat. Empty seats are wasted fixed costs. Movies are the same. It can cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make a blockbuster film. But if that film is shown in only 1 theater, it fails. If it is shown in tens of thousands of theaters worldwide, it becomes a huge success. The production cost is the same, but the number of people it is divided by is different. That is economies of scale. But this is why I like this concept. Growing larger does not mean you become infinitely more efficient. Even large corporations have limits. That's a bit comforting. When scale passes a certain point, costs begin to rise again. This is called diseconomies of scale. Why does this happen? When an organization becomes too large, communication costs explode. Departments increase. Meetings increase. Meetings about meetings appear. Reports summarizing those meetings appear, and teams appear to review those reports. I am not describing a specific company. This is just economic theory, just theory. So even economies of scale have an optimal point. Too small, inefficient. Too large, also inefficient. There is a size that fits just right. Finding that size is what managers struggle with their entire lives. I just work alone, so I don't have that problem. There is at least one advantage. That shop owner makes every piece by hand. That factory never stops. They both make clothes, but they can't compete on price. The scale is different. And yet, that small shop survives because it does something machines can't. Economies of scale. Describe a world where large companies have an advantage. Fixed cost distribution, buying power, and specialization. These 3 combined place large companies in a structurally advantageous position compared to smaller ones. This is not unfair. It's mathematics. Then what should smaller players do? There are 2 options. First, grow in scale. Second, find areas where economies of scale do not apply. There are things that do not get better just because they get bigger. Personalized services, original art, deep expertise, things machines cannot replicate. I chose the second path. I'm explaining economics to you. Whether this choice is right, time will tell.